Hello everyone and welcome to day 3 of Target Elevate 2022. I am Godha Narayana, Director of Technology at Target in India, and I'm super excited to host this next masterclass that is sure to resonate with all of us. Yes, I am talking about leadership. Some say it comes naturally to them, others have to work to cultivate the qualities that make a good leader. Either way, being a leader means always being on a journey of personal development. And who better to give us the big picture than Apurva Purohit, an amazing business leader and a strong advocate of gender diversity in the workplace at all levels. Thank you for joining us, Apurva. We are delighted to have you with us. Apurva, you've taken on some very tough roles in your corporate career, and now you're focusing on helping entrepreneurs succeed. What inspired you to take on these roles?
Godha, I think for all working women, life is tough, and all of us, whether it is you, whether it is me, whether it is all the attendees listening to this particular telecast, I think all of us have worked hard, struggled hard to build our careers. Yes, indeed, there were several tough choices that I had to make. And I think the decisions that I took or the roles that I took up, Godha, really were intentionally high risk roles. Of course, I got rewards in some cases. I didn't get rewards in certain cases, but I did make those tough choices. And the reason for that was very simple. The reason really was, Godha, that I firmly believe that each of us have a specific set of talents, skills, aptitudes, attitudes that we are born with or we get nurtured around. I think it's a solemn duty to ensure that we maximize our potential, we maximize whatever skills, talents we have, and we every single day try to become best versions of ourselves. So really, this particular theme of trying to maximize my potential, trying to be the best version of myself at every point in time is what has inspired me to make all those tough choices and take up those tough roles.
How did taking on these roles set you up for success? I mean, the success we all see with you.
So if you see that the roles I took up were high risk roles. As I said, some of them worked, some of them didn't work. But every time I tried to pick up roles where I was pushing myself, I was stretching myself. And if I was 80% ready, I picked up a role that required 100%, because I think I had that confidence that I would grow into that role. But just because I felt I was not ready was not the reason I didn't pick up. Now, when you are willing to take risks, when you're willing to adapt, and when you're willing to push and stretch yourself, that becomes a learning for life. So then, A, it gives you the confidence that you'll be able to do certain things. B, it ensures that because of the self-confidence that you have built in, nothing phases you. And life is constantly going to be a challenge. Some challenges we can predict. Many challenges we'll never be able to predict, a la the pandemic that happened. But inside of you, you have been able to build that resilience and build that confidence and courage that whatever life throws at you, you will be able to deal with it. I think that was the first thing that set me for success. Taking high risk, challenging roles, which helped me build my confidence to be able to say that nothing will faze me. And that automatically ensures that the universe then gives you more and more interesting opportunities. The second thing I would say is that, women specifically sort of weaken the muscle of choice. We stop taking our own decisions very often because it's a fight, right? It's a struggle. It's always the pushback against society, against the larger ecosystem. I want to do this, the clothes I want to wear, the person I want to marry, the job I want to pick up. So taking all these calls also helped me strengthen my own muscle of choice. And I think that is really something that sets you up for success. Self-confidence and saying that I will control my destiny. I will navigate it the way I want to.
We often find ourselves at crossroads, so that can decide the course of our career and our lives. So, what approach did you take to make those tough decisions in your career?
When you are at the crossroads, you don't have the foresight. You don't know what will happen, right? You have to, in a sense, take a blind call. So any leader who talks to you today and say, failure works for you or success works for you, or taking a decision in a balanced, rational, emotional manner will work for you, I don't think they know, because they know what is going through your mind when you have to take the decision. It's just with the benefit of hindsight are we able to join the dots. So in that case, how do you lead your life? How do you take a call when it's a blind call that you're taking? And I think there, Godha, the things that I feel I did right, was, as I said, the willingness to take risks, the willingness to push out of my comfort zone. And many a time we get into a comfort zone, we get into a place where we feel happy, we are needed, our boss likes us, our juniors love us, and we know our job. And we say, let me not push myself out of this. Everything is working for me. But I think that's the time you should ask, are you learning? Are you growing? Are you too comfortable? And being too comfortable also is moving towards a kind of stagnation. I think whenever that happened for me, I always asked, am I learning? Am I growing? And when I felt I wasn't, I pushed myself to learn new things. So I would say the biggest parameter for taking a decision when I was at crossroads was, am I going to be able to learn something if I move in direction 1 versus direction 2? Mm-hmm. If is direction 2 the more of the same thing, then I don't want to do it. I mean, look at me today, I'm 55 years old and I've become an entrepreneur at this age in a industry which is completely different from what I've done for 30 years. And that's pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I think the second parameter for taking a decision at a point when you're in crossroads is to be able to ask yourself, what is the larger good? Sometimes we wear blinkers and we just take the decision between, okay, job A versus job B. What does pay more? Does it not pay more? We take very, very tactical decisions. Mm-hmm. I think we need to be a little more objective and look at it in a larger sense. Look at the larger goal what is our larger goal? So for example, for me, I started my career being a specialist in media, but over a point of time, I realized and I felt that my potential was more to be a leader, a manager, a business manager. So I quickly moved. Whenever I got a decision to move from being a specialist to a generalist, from handling just a function to handling a P&L, I moved there very fast, because the larger goal for me was always to be a CEO, a business head, handle an entire P&L rather than be a specialist in a function. So I think those are the two things that you need to keep in mind. Will I learn in this particular decision that I'm taking and grow? Is this decision moving me towards my end goal?
That's again a segue into my next question, where we want to talk about the imposter syndrome, right? So you have often spoken about imposter syndrome and the need to get over it. I have a more basic question, and I'm sure the audience also should have thought about it. Why does imposter syndrome even exist?
I believe it's a lot to do with the socializing that has happened to girls everywhere in the world. So I think if you see how we bring up our daughters versus how we bring up our sons, I think there's a marked difference. We bring up our daughters by telling them, you can't do this, you can't wear these kind of clothes, you can't stay out late in the night, you can't talk loudly, laugh loudly, wear red lipstick. Maybe you can't be part of technology, or you can't be in STEM, or you can't do math. So a lot of can't is what women have heard from their childhood. Whereas men have been brought up, boys have been brought up to believe they can conquer the world. So when girls grow up, the socializing has become so much ingrained in their lives that when they move out into, let's say, a corporate career, an entrepreneurship, basically move from being nurturers, which is the default setting, to being the hunter, which is not the default setting. There is this sense of being in a place which is not meant for them. Added to that, there is this entire upbringing that there are many things you can't do. Putting both these together results in us suffering from this imposter syndrome. So whenever, we are sitting in a boardroom on a corporate table, being the technology head, in our hearts, maybe I'm here just by chance. Maybe it's just good luck. Maybe I'm just, it just so happened to me. Maybe people will catch me and know that I'm really not ready. I think these are the thoughts which are completely wrong, which have nothing to do with reality. But this has become our self-perception.
Now let us talk about leadership, Apurva. You have often said that leadership is gender agnostic. And yet, all over the world, we have fewer women in leadership roles in most industries. If leadership is gender agnostic, what is driving organizations to focus so much on gender diversity overall and specifically in leadership roles?
Godha, actually what I said was good leadership is gender agnostic, because people often would ask me that, do men make better leaders? Do women make better leaders? And my answer always was, it doesn't, gender doesn't matter in leadership. There are equally bad female leaders, equally great male leaders, equally nurturing male leaders, equally aggressive. So it's really gender agnostic in that sense. You will find good leaders in both sexes. Unfortunately, the reality is that despite the fact that you'll find good leaders both amongst men and women, we know the pyramid of leadership. We know that at the middle management level, 70% of leaders are male. At the senior management level, 85% of leaders are male. At the top, 95% of leaders are male. And I think that's an imbalance that anybody who's serious about equality, anybody who believes that the world needs to be an equal place for different genders, for different income levels, for different cultures, etc., needs to seriously worry about this fact that if the population of the world has 50% women, why are we still putting women in the diversity quota? There should be 50% women right from top to bottom, right? And that is the imbalance that organizations are trying to correct, governments are trying to correct. And the reason why they are doing this, we must understand, is not because everybody is saying, I want to correct unfairness alone. They are recognizing that diversity helps the business outcome. There is more and more data today, Godha, which is talking about business profitability linked to diversity, business outcomes linked to diversity at the senior, middle, lower level. The world's GDP is supposed to improve by $28 trillion if women work to their full potential. I think that is the focus of organizations.
There's a follow-up question from me. What are the factors you have seen that hold back women from transitioning into such roles, Apurva?
So I've written a lot about why middle management women don't reach the top in my second book, Lady or the Boss. And some of the factors are, I referred to them earlier, to the fact that you are happy to be in that space which is comfortable. You don't want to get out of your comfortable zone. You're happy to feel needed. There are so many people who are saying, you are the best boss. You're doing such a fantastic role in this particular arena that you feel, let me not move out of the place where I'm happy, where I'm needed, where I'm comfortable. I think that's one critical reason why women stop striving for more. The second reason is, again, we discussed it a bit, Godha, is this lack of self-confidence. maybe, I'm not ready. And again, research after research says that women who are 100% ready for the next role, in their hearts believe they are only 60 to 70% ready for that role. Men who are 80% ready for the next role believe 120% that they are ready for that next role. I think that's again a difference in self-belief and their own perceptions. The final reason, and not many people talk about it, but I do want to share it with all the women listening to this particular conversation, is that somewhere the job from CXO to CEO, from head of a function to a head of a business, there's a lot of tough calls one has to take. There's a lot of unpopular choices that one has to make. And I think somewhere women again have been ingrained to believe that they need to be nice, they need to be popular, they need to be liked, they need to be loved. And I don't think any of us love our CEOs, right? So I think that worry, that that final push, final job requires a lot more aggression, a lot more tough calls, a lot more being deep, unpopular, that I think women don't want to push themselves out and do.
When it comes to women on their leadership journey, do you think we unconsciously burden ourselves by creating an image that is impossibly perfect to achieve? So that's what you said, that I need to be 100% before I go there. So how do you think we get out of that?
So you're absolutely right. It is true that, we build this image that we have to be perfect in everything. So we have to be the perfect executive, we have to be the perfect manager, we have to be the perfect mother, we have to be the perfect wife, the housekeeper, cook, everything we have to be perfect at. Again, let's understand why this desire for perfection, or this desire to be completely 100 out of 100 in all our roles. And again, it stems from the criticism that we have got, the criticism when we go out to work. And one woman I was talking to alluded to this very beautifully, and she said that my husband's career is seen as a career that is meant for the family, that he earns to take care of the family, whereas my career is seen as something that is selfish, that I'm doing to fulfill my potential. Why is my career not seen as something that I'm doing for the family too? And I think if you hear this a lot, and you sort of start feeling that, okay, when I'm going and working, when I'm trying to fulfill my potential, I'm being selfish, then you try to overcompensate. You try to overcompensate by saying, let me not either hear the criticism or let go of trying to be perfect in my other roles. And obviously, you and I both know that's not possible. You can't do everything at once. You can't be good. You will burn out. One of the reasons so many women leave at middle management level is that they're not able to cope with everything. And I'll tell you, I myself used to think that being a multitasker is a badge of honor. Actually, it's not. It's not. A multitasker will ensure that sooner rather than later you will burn out. So I keep on telling women that, don't worry. In your lifespan, in a 30-40 year career, you will get everything. You will be able to be perfect at A, B, C, all the roles that you've ever wanted to achieve and do well, you will be able to do, but not at the same time.
Very often, right, so we are all about how others perceive our competence as a leader. Now, it is integral to being viewed as the high potential or a future leader in the organization. Then at times you wonder, does it really matter what others think of me? So these are conflicting, right? So how do we deal with these conflicting thoughts and still move ahead in the leadership journey?
Godha, that's such an important question, and thank you for asking it. Not many people ask this question of me, and I'm so glad that you asked it, because it is a conflict. It is a conflict that, and the more self-help books we read, the more books that we read of different leaders and gurus, etc., some of them will be telling us, look within. Some of us will be telling us, perception matters, etc. And I think this challenge will always remain. The way I have learned to deal with it is firstly to keep working on myself and say that only person whose opinion about me that matters is me, myself. So it's only my opinion about myself that matters, A. B, it is only, I do not therefore need to seek external validation for anything that I've done well. Neither do I want to listen to any external criticism for what I'm doing. I will be my own critic. I will be my own cheerleader also. So I will tell myself what I've done well. I will tell myself what I've done badly. Okay. Fortunately for me, through my entire 32 years, I only set my own KRAs, or I only decided, because I became a leader very early, I only decided what I've done well, I only decided what I've done badly. And that sort of strengthened that inner moral compass, that inner compass of deciding I will measure my own success, I will measure my own failure. This is the scale I have chosen for myself. I will decide how well I have performed against it. So I think all of us need to work very hard on developing that internal compass of success or failure. And only that voice within should tell us how well or how badly we have done. That's my meta point. That is the point that, and that reduces all insecurities, that reduces all worry, anxiety about seeking validation outside, etc. Having said that, finally we live in society. Finally, we live in an ecosystem where perception also is reality, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, it exists.
I find it exists. And I find a lot of women especially don't talk about themselves, don't like to celebrate their success, don't like to self-promote, because again, let's go back to what I said earlier, that they don't want to be seen as popular, that they don't want to be seen as unpopular. If I praise myself, if I pat myself on my back, I will be seen as, oh, look at her, she's not a nice person. And I'd rather be nice and popular and not talk about what good things I've done. But if I don't talk about what good things I have done, how will the world talk about it? How will they even come to know? And I think I just want to, when I'm, especially in these last 2 years where all of us have been sitting at home, we are not visible. We are working hard, we are slogging, but does the world know? Therefore, I think it's also important to, at regular intervals, be able to stand up and say, this is the job and I did this well because of these things that I brought to the table.
Apurva, let's get to our audience. Our audience have a few questions to ask. Our first question is from Alpa Bansal. Alpa, over to you.
Thanks, Godha. Hi, Apurva. So this is a very personal question relating to work. In this competitive market of storytelling, and perhaps with a focus on women empowerment, what story do you tell yourself all the time to keep going, to push yourself and remain authentic at the same time?
I think the story that I keep telling myself is, I believe I can make a difference. I believe there is a lot that requires to change in the world, whether it is in women empowerment, whether it is in diversity, whether it is in trying to correct inequalities that we are seeing around us, income inequalities, other types of inequalities. And I think the story, therefore, I keep telling myself, is that the world needs change makers. And I'm fortunate to be a change maker. And therefore, I want to keep trying to make as much change as I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpa. Oh, I mean, we are fortunate to have you around as well, Apurva. Our next question is from Swati P. Swati, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Apurva. It's really good to see you. I'm so excited. Here's my question to you. Why do we still see gender bias in our society, even though we are going through this phase of identifying this problem and looking for ways to create awareness around it?
Swati, so, I wonder whether you've heard of a king called King Hammurabi. So King Hammurabi was a Babylonian king in the 4th century BC, right? And he's supposed to be credited with having come out with the first written text of social moral conduct. And many of the latter day laws, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, many of the latter day laws are based on King Hammurabi's code. One of his codes is to do with this whole thing of, what is the punishment when you murder somebody. And in that code, in 4th century BC, he said that if a man kills another man, the offense is punishable by death. If a man kills another man's cattle, he has to give as compensation 4 pieces of gold. If a man kills another man's wife, he has to compensate by giving 2 pieces of silver. Yeah. So let's understand. Now, we don't know why women were treated like that, why they were so much lower down in the ladder, 8 times less important than cattle, right? But it has been so. Nobody can answer this question, why did this happen? But it has happened. And from then, of course, society has come a long way, right? But even now, in the larger society, there are a lot of biases, a lot of stereotypes, a lot of social upbringing that exists, which says that women have to be nurturers and men have to be the hunters. Women have to take care of the home, men have to be the chief wage earner. Even in 2022, research that was done very, very recently, just a couple of months back, asked men and women, a very large sample size, that do you think men and women should have equal right? And everybody said, of course. I mean, this is 2022. We believe men and women should have equal right. The same people were asked, when jobs are scarce, whom should the job go to? Men or women? Who has more of a right? They said men have more of a right. So just see, now they don't see this contradiction. Men and women have to be equal, but men have more of a right to a job than women do. And this is somewhere that is so deeply ingrained in society, so deeply ingrained in our subconscious, that it'll take years. It will take years. The World Economic Forum has said that it'll take 108 more years for there to be gender equality. 108 more years. So I think, but having said that, the silver lining is change is happening. Organizations such as Target, so many organizations are working very, very hard to bring about equality. You and I are having conversations, so I'm sure it will change. And I think more importantly, we are bringing up our sons. I'm very, very hopeful that this current generation of young boys and young girls will really push the diversity and equality agenda far more.
I've heard poetry is one way you express yourself. We would love to hear you recite a few of your favorite lines.
So I think the theme, Godha, so of course, yes, I love poetry, English, Hindi, different types. Since the theme of your conference is really striving for leadership, pushing ahead, etc., I've always felt that one of the strongest determinants of success, one of the strongest determinants of good leadership is perseverance. So I think that both men and women who ultimately are successful or ultimately end up becoming good leaders are people who don't give up. And therefore, these particular 4 lines, is really about perseverance. And I think many of us who may have studied Hindi in our school would have learned this poem, which is all about perseverance, I think. And it goes like, कोशिश करने वाले की हार नहीं होती. And it extols the virtues of an ant and says that नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चढ़ती है, चढ़ती दीवारों से 100 बार फिसलती है. मन का विश्वास रगों में साहस भरता है, चढ़कर गिरना, गिरकर चढ़ना ना अखरता है. आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वाले की हार नहीं होती.
Arey wow, that was beautiful, Apurva. Thank you for spending time with us and inspiring us today. Have a wonderful day ahead.